Hello. So I actually took a little bit longer of a break than I wanted to or initially intended to in the first place. So it is now August 25th and it's been 2 weeks since I made a video last. And the main reason why I kind of took an extra week is just because I felt like I kind of needed it, you know? I feel like I needed a break away. Like I had my summer break from school, but I feel like I just needed just a little bit longer, right? Because I feel like just in the last 2 weeks, I've been kind of going through like my own personal issues, right? Like my own personal stuff, right? Like just getting back into the flow of school, but also just, I don't know, I feel like the last 2 weeks have kind of been an eye-opening experience for me, to be honest. Like when I was away from school, I actually had a lot of fun during that week. I went hiking, I went to like karaoke and like stuff like that, but like I was sick, so that also was a little harsh as well. And then even just like going back to school, I was still a little bit sick and everything. But I feel like the most important thing is that I was actually able to relax and like, I don't know, being able to like sleep. You know, I feel like that was like a really big issue, is like I wasn't able to sleep very well, but I was just able to go and like actually sleep, and it felt so nice to be able to like actually sleep for once. And like I feel like the longer that I spend in Japan, the more I get used to life here, right? And like I have friends and everything and like stuff like that. I feel like every day gets a little bit easier. But then that also means that like, yes, I'm living here, right? But it's like, even though I'm in a different country, it doesn't necessarily mean that bad things or like certain things aren't going to happen, right? Like when I was living in Canada, I like had, you know, like I had friends and everything, and my life was great in Canada. Like not saying that it was bad. It's just that there was always like issues, right? Like that's how life is. You're always going to have something that's going to happen, right? And just because I live in a different country does not mean that nothing's going to happen. It's like doesn't mean that it's always going to be perfect, right? Like I feel like a very big issue that I've kind of been experiencing recently is that like people in Japan, like Japanese people, like I'll never be fully accepted by Japanese people, right? And I feel like that's kind of been something that's become a little bit more prominent to me within the last few weeks. But it's also, it's kind of relieved, like, I feel relieved, but also a little, like, bad about that, right? Like, I would like to be accepted into the society, but the thing is that harsh reality of it is that I probably won't ever be, right? And the reason why I feel like it's kind of relieving is that it's just like I don't have to try and be a certain way, you know? Like I can be myself and obviously still respect like the rules and the culture in Japan, but I can be who I want to be and who I am kind of thing, right? I feel like that's also kind of a comforting, like I have like a sense of comfort when I think about it like that. And like it's kind of crazy because even like when I'm with my friends, I notice that I'm okay. Like I don't feel any sort of societal pressure because it's like I'm with my friends and like we're just we're having fun whatever we're doing, right? But when I'm with myself, I feel like there is like a little bit of pressure to like be a certain way, right? And like it's kind of an interesting thing that I've noticed. I feel like just in the last 2 weeks I've kind of noticed so many more things that I never realized before. And it's kind of like interesting, I guess. Like, I don't know. I feel like I've also been able to just kind of reflect on a lot of things as well and really understand kind of like what my life will be for the next little while. Like, I mean, I have school and everything, and we have exams coming up, so that's going to be stressful. So I'm not excited about that. But the thing is that like, I feel that I need to like, obviously I put myself in this situation, right? I chose to go to school and I chose to do this, right? And like sometimes I do have a lack of motivation, right? Like I feel like it's a normal thing for people to kind of lack motivation when it comes to certain stuff. And like I definitely have noticed that like even though I lack motivation, I'm still putting in the effort and the work every single day, right? Because I know that I'm going to be able to push through and get past this sort of these feelings of like, oh, I can't study, like I can't speak Japanese very well, I'm not very good at this, I'm not very good at that, and all this and everything, right? But the thing is, if I give up now, then what the fuck is the point? You know, like, why am I here, kind of thing, right? And like, what would I do after? You know, like, let's say, for example, I just decide to go back home to Canada and, you know, I just don't want to study Japanese anymore, right? Then, like, what's the point? Like, what would I do there, kind of thing, right? Because my whole life for the past 3 years has been surrounded by this topic of me moving to Japan and going to graduate school and everything, because that's really what I want to do, right? Like, I really want to go to graduate school and become, like, whether it's like psychologist, researcher, whatever, right? Like, I want to become what I want to become, kind of thing, right? And I feel like it's important that even though it's hard, right? Like, even though I miss my family and I miss my friends back home, and studying Japanese is hard and everything like that, I feel like I really need to, like, push through the difficult times to be able to actually, like, enjoy, not, like, just enjoy my life. Like, I would be enjoying my life if I wasn't doing this, but it's just, like, I need to make the sacrifices to be able to do what I want in life, right? I feel like everything in life requires some sort of sacrifice, and it's important to sacrifice things, right? Like, even though it's hard right now and like I do miss my family and studying Japanese is really hard, I'm also having like a lot of fun, you know? Like a lot of fun that I wouldn't have if I was in Canada, right? I feel like in Canada, a large portion of my life was surrounded by the topic of, oh, I need to work so hard and make so much money to be able to live, right? And now, like, I feel like I don't need to, I'm not just working to live, but I'm actually just living, you know? Like, I haven't started a job yet, but I will hopefully soon. But the thing is like, living in Japan is so much cheaper than it is living in Canada, right? So it's like, I'm actually living. I feel like this is like the first time I've actually been able to like live and not have to worry about, like, I still have things to worry about that are similar, like, you know, like paying tuition and like paying rent and everything like that. But it's not such a pressuring issue. It's like, it's so different, you know? Like, when I was in Canada, I was like always stressing about money all the time and like, oh my god, how am I gonna pay rent and tuition, right? But here, I don't have to stress like that. Like, yeah, there is still a little bit of stress because, you know, like, I'm a student, money's always going to be a stressful situation, but the thing is just like, I don't have to worry as much as I did when I was in Canada, and that's something that's like really crazy to me. Yeah, it's like storming right now in Kyoto. There's supposed to be like a typhoon coming, so it's been storming and like really rainy the last like few days, because there was a typhoon in Tokyo. Oh yeah, and then there was like an earthquake, and there's like a mega quake coming or something. I have no idea. It's kind of, Japan's really going through it right now. It's a lot, but I haven't felt any earthquakes or anything like that. I'm definitely like a little bit nervous about them, right? But yeah. But anyways, I just feel like my life in Japan is so much different than it was when I was in Canada, and like, it doesn't always mean that it's a bad thing, right? Like, yeah. But anyways, I feel like when it comes to these videos, I think I want to try and post only once a week rather than every single day, because when I have to do it every single day, I feel like I'm always stressing. I'm like, oh, what should I talk about? Oh, what should I do? And everything like this. But if I just do it once a week, then I could just do a whole wrap up of like things that I did in the week. And like, eventually I would like to try and get like a better camera or something, because I'm just using my phone right now, and like actually be able to film stuff that I'm doing, and then just like kind of really show what life is like, you know? Like, show people just things in Japan that I do, right? And like, I don't know, it's hard because I feel like there's always this view and this fantasy about what Japan is. And now that I've been living here for a few months, I feel like that view and that fantasy, like, yes, Japan is beautiful. It's a very great country and like very beautiful to visit and everything like that. But it's like, there's a different perspective that you hold when you live here, right? Like, things aren't always just so beautiful and everything. It's life, right? That's how life is. It's not always beautiful. But like, I feel like, I don't know, Japan gets very fantasized about, and I feel like that kind of makes it really hard for people to actually really understand what it's like to like actually come here. Because, right, like, for example, I have a friend that's traveling around Japan, and they have kind of realized that like Japan isn't always just how it is in like the videos on TikTok and everything, right? It's not always like so beautiful and everything. Like, Japan, like, yes, it's a very clean, like, for example, it's a very clean country, but there still is garbage everywhere. It's like, it's just how it is, right? That's how society is. Like, that's how things are. There's always going to be garbage somewhere, right? But not only that, it's just like, I feel like the societal pressures aren't as deep as people think that it is, right? Like, nobody really fucking cares about what you do, you know? You can literally just go, and like, yes, you still want to be respectful. That doesn't mean just go out and like be awful or rude or anything. But let's say if you decided that you wanted to drink water and walk at the same time, literally nobody cares about what you do, you know? Maybe it's just because I am a foreigner, so it is a little bit different for me. But I do see Japanese people walking and drinking or eating at the same time. It's not that serious of a situation. I feel like that's something else that I've kind of realized since living here, is that a lot of foreigners seem to put a lot of pressure on the other foreigners about, oh, you need to do this and this and this and this and this. Like, literally nobody cares. Like, you don't have to be so perfect, and you don't have to feel so stressed out about what it's like for you to travel here, right? I remember the first few days that I was in Japan, I like was so scared to like walk and drink at the same time. I was like, oh, I don't want to be rude. I don't want people to judge me or anything like that. But like, nobody fucking cares, right? Like, they're gonna forget in like 1 second anyways. It's not like you become such a big part of their life that they're like, oh, I saw this like person walking around and they were drinking water. Like, nobody cares, right? I feel like it's, I don't know, just nobody cares about what you do. Like, that doesn't mean go and be like super loud on trains or anything, because that is true. Like, people do want to try and be quieter on trains, but that doesn't mean that you can't talk at all, right? Like, I don't know. I feel like after I've lived here for only just a few months, I've noticed that it's not as stressful as it has to be. Like, you don't have to always be perfect and everything like that. Like, I don't know. It's kind of nice to know that you don't always have to be perfect and act a certain way. And I feel like, yeah, I don't know, it's a lot less stressful. I feel a lot less stressed when I think about it like that, right? Like, obviously there's some times where I do feel very self-conscious about how I'm acting or like what I'm wearing, just because, like, let's say I do want to wear shorts one day. I'm like, oh, like, are people gonna think I'm weird or anything? But like, I don't know, nobody really cares. If you stop worrying about what other people think about, then you're okay, right? It's just like how it is anywhere else in the world. If you think about how people think about you, then you're going to be so stressed and anxious all the time. But if you don't care about what other people think about you, then you're going to feel a lot more relieved in life. And I feel like that's how you should live. You should be able to live the way that you want to live and not feel so stressed out about society and how people think you are or anything like that. Because at the end of the day, nobody really cares. Nobody cares at all. And it's like such a relieving feeling to have, the fact that nobody really cares about like what you do. Like, it can kind of be sad at the same time that nobody cares, but I feel like in general it's kind of like a relieved feeling that I have. But anyways, as I was saying before, I kind of do want to just do these videos once a week and just kind of do like a general overview of what my life is like and like stuff like that, because I want to have these videos for like a few years, in the future, in a few years, I can like watch them back and be like, wow, I was like so different, right? Like I just want to like have this as like a memory for myself. And like I definitely do appreciate everybody that like watches and comments on my videos. I think it's like really cool that I have other people from other parts of the world that are watching my videos and like engaging. So yeah, thank you for everybody that does watch my videos, even though they are kind of like silly sometimes. But yeah, okay, bye.